You know that moment when your whole world doesn't just crumble, it detonates? That was me, standing in my own kitchen holding a bottle of champagne meant to toast my future, only to hear the unmistakable sound of my sister giggling from my bedroom. I wasn't supposed to be home. They didn't know I'd forgotten my phone. But I was, and when I opened that door, what I saw didn't just break me, it rewired me. It had started out like the happiest day of my life. I woke up with butterflies. My engagement party was finally here. The love of my life, Daniel, had proposed 2 months earlier on a windswept beach in Cornwall. I cried, he smiled, and the world felt like it had clicked into place. We wanted a small but elegant celebration. Just close friends and family, good food, laughter, some dancing. Nothing extravagant. I coordinated everything, from the candlelit centerpieces to the music playlist. My best friend Tolu was in charge of keeping me sane. Zara, my younger sister, had offered to help with setup. She'd always looked up to me, or at least I thought she did. Growing up, Zara was my shadow. She borrowed my clothes, my nail polish, sometimes even my diary. I never minded. We were only 3 years apart, and our bond was something people envied. Our parents loved bragging about how close the girls are. But closeness can sometimes mask cracks. Daniel and Zara were never particularly chummy. He was polite, she was playful, but there were never red flags. Or maybe there were, and I was just too in love to see them. That day, I left early to do a final check at the venue. I had everything timed down to the second. But at 5:47 p.m., just as I was checking table placements, I realized something. My phone was missing. I had left it charging on the kitchen counter. Not a big deal normally, but Tolu had the playlist on a shared folder, and there was no way I was walking into my own party without my song playing first. I hopped in an Uber and headed back home. It was supposed to be a quick in and out. When I opened the front door, something was off. Daniel's shoes were by the entrance. He had told me he was already at the venue. Zara's heels, the black ones she said didn't match her dress, were also there. Why were they both here? I walked in, confused. The hallway was quiet, but there was a sound. Laughter, software intimate. It came from the bedroom. My bedroom. For one terrifying second, I thought maybe someone had broken in. Maybe they were being held hostage. But then I heard her say something that made my heart stop. You always know how to tease me. That voice, that tone, that familiarity. I opened the door without knocking. I wish I could unsee it. Zara was naked, wrapped in my sheets. Daniel was behind her, completely exposed. They didn't even register me at first. They were too wrapped up in each other. In my bed, on the day of my engagement party. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I froze. And then I laughed. Not a funny laugh. A broken, confused, brittle laugh that bubbled up from a place I didn't know existed. Daniel turned first. His face went pale. Zara scrambled for the duvet. Didi, wait. This isn't what you think. Oh? I said, still laughing. Because it looks like my fiancé is inside my sister. And it's my engagement party today. So please, explain what I think I'm seeing. Zara started crying. Daniel started stammering. It was a mistake. It just happened. I didn't plan it. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt like it was caving in. I backed out of the room, my vision blurred. My hands were shaking. I found my phone on the kitchen counter. I took it and left. I didn't go to the party. I didn't say a word to anyone yet. I turned off my phone. I walked for hours. I ended up at Tolu's. When I told her, she was speechless. Then she cried. Then she offered me wine. Then she offered to go burn my apartment down. The next day, the fallout began. I told my parents. Mum collapsed into tears. Dad went completely silent. Zara didn't deny it. She said she didn't know what came over her. She said she was sorry. But sorry is a paper umbrella in a hurricane. Daniel showed up with flowers. He begged. He said he loved me, that he had panicked, that he didn't mean to fall into bed with her. I asked him one question. How many times? He was quiet. Then he said, 3. Not once. Not even twice. 3 times. I ended it. I called off the engagement. I returned the dress, canceled the venue, and deleted every photo of him from my phone. I blocked him. I blocked Zara. It was hard. It was humiliating. Everyone found out. Extended family gossiped. Friends looked at me with pity. Some even asked what I did wrong. But slowly, I started to rebuild. Therapy helped. So did journaling. I wrote down every emotion, every memory, every pain, every wish. I traveled. I joined a yoga class. I moved into a new apartment. I changed my number. Zara tried to reach out months later. She sent a long email about how she had hated living in my shadow, how she felt invisible, how Daniel gave her attention she craved. I didn't reply. Forgiveness is a beautiful concept, but it isn't always owed. Sometimes you forgive for yourself. Other times, you choose silence. Daniel moved on. He's dating someone new. I don't care. I really don't. Zara and I haven't spoken in over a year, and while it breaks my heart, it also gives me peace. I don't need people in my life who treat my love like a convenience store, cheap and always open. I learned something from all this. Love doesn't blind you, it reveals you. It showed me how much I was willing to ignore, how much of myself I was willing to shrink to keep the peace, how dangerous it is to assume loyalty without accountability. Now, I ask the hard questions. I listen to my gut. I trust patterns over promises. You may wonder if I'll ever trust again. I will. But not blindly. I met someone recently. He knows the story. He didn't flinch. He said, "That was their shame, not yours." And that meant everything. So yes, I discovered my fiancé and my sister in bed together on the night of my engagement party. In the weeks that followed, I felt like a ghost moving through my own life. But healing has a strange rhythm. It doesn't march, it meanders. One specific moment still lingers in my heart. It was a crisp Sunday morning, nearly 6 months after the betrayal. I had just finished my first 10K run. As I stood at the top of the hill near my new apartment, the city skyline bathed in gold, sweat and tears mingled on my cheeks. I wasn't crying from pain this time. It was pride. I had pushed myself. I had kept going. I had chosen life over bitterness. That moment didn't erase what happened, but it marked the day I stopped surviving and started living again. The echoes of that night no longer haunted me. They became part of the melody of who I was becoming. And for the first time in a long while, I felt whole. It was the most painful, humiliating, disorienting experience of my life. But it was also the most awakening. Because that night didn't just end a relationship. It shattered an illusion I'd carried for years. I remember gripping that champagne bottle, the one I'd picked specifically for our toast, the one that now sat unopened in a dusty cupboard. Months later, I found it again. Not out of nostalgia, but as a quiet, private ritual. I took it to the top of the same hill where I ran my first 10K. The skyline stretched wide before me, just like it had that morning, but this time I popped it open. Alone. No cheers. No promises. Just the sound of a cork launching into the sky and the fizz of bubbles rising, like my grief finally releasing itself into the air. I took a sip and smiled, not because everything was perfect, but because I finally knew I didn't need anyone to celebrate myself. That night didn't just end a relationship, it began a return to me. It birthed a woman who finally chose herself, and I'll never apologize for that. I started speaking to women in support groups, and sharing this story wasn't just about release. It became a form of service. I found myself helping others rise from similar betrayals.